the sky overhead, and God in his heaven. That, in a modest way, is what I've tried to do for Columbus. One winter's sail in a chartered yawl along the line of the Windward and Leeward Islands provided me with a living commentary on the contemporary narratives of Columbus's second voyage, and proved that Parkman's outdoor methods could profitably be applied at sea. So I sought ways and means for following the routes of Columbus's other voyages under sail. Paul Hammond, and a number of his friends and mine, organized for that purpose the Harvard Columbus Expedition. We purchased and fitted out the barkentine Capitana, near enough to Columbus's larger ships in rig and burthen, to enable us to cross the ocean under conditions very similar to those of his day, and to view islands and coasts as through his eyes. William D. Stevens contributed his 45-foot ketch, Mary Otis, as the Niña of our expedition. Departing separately in August and September 1939, we dropped down near enough to the latitude of Columbus's first homeward passage to check his observations of weather, birds, and Gulf weed. At the Azores we met and examined very thoroughly the island of Santa Maria, where Columbus had unhappy experiences, then sailed by the track of his first voyage to Lisbon, Cape St. Vincent, and Palos. Thence, by way of Sanlúcar and Cadiz, we caught the winter northerlies to Porto Santo, Madeira, and the Canary Islands, all associated with Columbus. Our ocean crossing from Gomera to Trinidad was approximately on the route of his third voyage, and we made exactly the same Trinidad landfall on December the 12th, 1939, as he did on July the 31st, 1498. With somewhat more trepidation than his journal exhibits, we sailed through the Boca de la Sierpe into the Gulf of Paria. On the northern, Venezuelan shore of that gulf, we ascertained the place where Columbus first made contact with the American continent, and where he took possession por Castilla y por León. Passing out through the Bocas del Dragón, we followed the route of the third voyage to Margarita, visited Cartagena, and joined the route of Columbus's fourth voyage at the entrance to the Gulf of Darien, where he took his last departure from the mainland. The somewhat confused accounts of the fourth voyage became clear as we reconnoitred the Caribbean shores of Panama and Costa Rica, and with the aid of a native sloop we effected the difficult landing at the mouth of the Rio Belén, where Columbus attempted a mainland settlement. After identifying the passage between Almirante Bay and Chiriqui Lagoon, which Columbus expected would lead to the Indian Ocean, we called at his Cariay in Costa Rica, and proceeded to Jamaica, where our Capitana paid homage to the ghost of his, at her last resting place in St. Anne's, or Santa Gloria, Bay. During the summer of 1940, Captain Stevens and I sailed Mary Otis along Columbus's course of the first voyage, from the San Salvador landfall, through the Bahamas to Cuba, and along the beautiful Oriente province to Cape Maizí. There we picked up the route of his Cuban exploring voyage of 1494. Mary Otis took us into Guantanamo Bay and Santiago de Cuba, around Cape Cruz, through El Jardín de la Reina, and past the Sierra de Trinidad to Cienfuegos. We drew too much water to follow the remainder of that Colombian voyage, and my reconnaissance of the province of Mangui was successfully completed aboard a shoal draft and hospitable Cuban gunboat. On other occasions in 1938 and 1939, I sailed in government patrol boats, native sloops, or anything I could pick up, along the shores of Hispaniola, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. Nicaragua and Honduras I had reserved for another voyage, but war conditions have indefinitely postponed that pleasure, and it seemed best to conclude this biography without completing the work of re-exploration. Although I have not neglected the problems connected with the nationality, birth, early life, and objectives of Columbus, the emphasis in this book is on what